Hi, Pandit. Welcome to the IPA Revolution channel. Thank you so much for being with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure. I see your profile and your history that you have in LinkedIn and also the YouTube video. And I'm very surprised with the history that you have so far. And before we go into the interview questions, I would like to ask some personal ones just so people can get to know you a bit. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Okay. All right, Pandit. Now, after your whole history of monk, like urban monk for 15 years in New York, and all your travels in India and all this experience that you have so far your track record with these whole companies and service that you have done so far, what would you say if I ask you what is your happiest moment in your life so far? What would you choose?
The happiest moment in my life so
Uh huh.
far,
Uh
that's a
huh.
really hard one. That's
I
not an
know.
easy question to start with because there's many very happy moments that I can think of right away. I remember some of my happiest times were when I was in the monastery. They were
All right.
absolutely amazing because I had a chance to work on myself a lot. I had a chance to help people a lot. And, spending time with my family is another a super happy moment. I think it's hard to come up with one.
All right. Okay.
It's hard to come up with one. I also feel tremendous satisfaction when I speak in companies on mindfulness and help them become more mindful and just more caring for each other. So,
Definitely. Uh-huh.
so I don't think I can come up. Your first question, I'm not able to answer.
It's fine. It's just to have this broad idea, but you have said many things that are really, really cool, and I can see it. So thank you so much. The second question, Pandit, will be so far, is your favorite place in the world?
Favorite place in the world? Well, you know, every place has its pluses and minuses,
Uh-huh,
right?
for sure.
And
Definitely.
so for spiritual purposes, India is my
Uh-huh.
favorite,
Okay, great.
right? For spiritual purposes. In terms of where I'd like to live the rest of my life, I think it would have to be just here in the US because I grew up here. I'm comfortable here. I know how things work here. So I've traveled to a lot of places that I like, but I think just because I've been here most of my life and my
Uh-huh.
family's here, my friends are here, I would have to say that this for me is the place I would want to live.
Uh-huh.
Spiritually, to visit, I always get a lot of inspiration. I feel like I fill up my spiritual gas tank every time I go to India. It just
Uh-huh.
does something really powerful.
All
And
right.
so that's one place I go for my spiritual recharge. So
Okay.
it's a very powerful place for me.
All right. I wanted to hear more about these experiences. So, what has India for you that led you reach this kind of spiritual awareness or consciousness?
Well, you have to look at the whole history and culture of India.
Uh-huh.
The history and culture of India is filled with things like meditation,
Uh-huh.
yoga, and spirituality,
Mm,
right? It's like it's it's deeply ingrained into the culture,
mm.
right? The world is meditating now and the whole world is doing yoga
Yeah.
to reduce stress, to be more peaceful. Where is that coming from? Right? It's
Mm,
coming from India.
yeah.
So, and so many people go there for this purpose. So,
That's right.
because India has this incredible foundation of spirituality,
Mm,
and you can find so many types of spirituality, and it's very inclusive. People
uh-huh.
aren't saying that, oh, if you don't do this, then you're going to hell, or you have to do this and you cannot do that.
That's
That's not
right.
true. It's like
Uh-huh.
you want to do your own spirituality, it's fine. So it's very inclusive, right?
Mm.
So that's why for me, when I first went there to live as a monk in 1999,
Yes.
I was really amazed. I mean, for me, because I grew up here, living in India is a little harder. It's not like for me wasn't as comfortable. It was a little too crowded, maybe a little too
Yeah.
polluted. It's a little harder.
I know what you mean. I've been in India as well.
Yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
little harder if you've grown up in the West. But other than that, for spiritual purposes, I just don't think there's any place like it on this planet where you will get a very inclusive type of spirituality and you'll actually come back charged if you do it in the right way.
All right. Very good. I always, when I started my own business, I say, okay, if I fail or something like that, it doesn't matter. I can always go to India and be a monk. So, because I like meditation, I had done a Vipassana experience as well, a 10 days retreat, as you know. So I was wondering how was, specifically, with details, how was your experience? Like you went there, did you went to a particular place? How long you been there with who you learn from who you learn?
Yeah, so I decided to go to India in 1999, after many ups and downs in my life,
Okay.
right? So my parents came to the US with almost no money in
Mm.
1980. They struggled very hard. They worked 7 days a week, and gradually they became very successful. They became millionaires in Los Angeles,
Uh-huh.
right? So I was very young. So life was good. And then we ended up losing everything, you
Mm.
know? So life is like this, up and down, like the seasons, winter,
Definitely.
summer, fall, spring,
Yeah.
right? These seasons
Uh-huh.
come and go. So when going through all these ups and downs, I began to think about, like, what's the meaning of life? You
Uh-huh.
know, life is so unpredictable. What's really the meaning behind it? And so I went to Mumbai, India,
Uh-huh.
to
Okay.
live with monks. There was 40 monks living there. At that time, it was, I think, called Bombay, but now it's Mumbai. Everybody still knows it. Either or.
Yes,
And
yes.
so I'd never lived in a monastery before. 40
Uh-huh.
monks. Everybody sleeps on a hardwood floor. You have a very thin straw mat. It's not even a
Yeah.
sleeping bag. It's not an air mattress. It's
Uh-huh.
like millimeters thick. That's it. It's
Okay.
just a little something between you and the floor. And nobody has their own bed. No one has their own room. It's common spaces everybody sleeps in. You wake
All
up
right.
at 4 in the morning,
Uh-huh.
and then you start meditating at 5, because the early morning meditation is considered the best. It's like the
Yes.
mind is more peaceful, the world is more calm, and so the
Uh-huh.
mind can be a little bit more focused. And
Uh-huh.
so, yeah, so I was waking up at 4, meditating at 5, meditating for several hours each day.
Yes.
And the rest of the day was the purpose was to serve others. So we would serve each other, serve the community. I would
Uh-huh.
do help with cooking, cleaning, whatever, simple life, right? So it
Mm-hmm.
was a life of simplicity, humility, and service. So, and then there was several teachers that, they were all, I was learning a little bit from all of them.
Uh-huh.
But basically what I was learning is that, really, if we can try to serve others
Mm-hmm.
while going deeper within our own selves, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's really a huge part of life and purpose of life, is
Mm.
that if we don't discover ourselves, then we ourselves will be kind of lost, and we'll can keep doing things that don't make us happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so in order for us to be happy, we need to be a little bit peaceful, and in order for us to be peaceful, we kind of have to know who we are and what our purpose is.
Yeah, totally.
So it was all of these reasons
Uh-huh.
that took me there. And so I only spent about 6 months in India. Then I came back and moved into a monastery in New York City.
All right.
And that's where I spent almost 15 years. I mean, I would go back to India every year, year and a half, but most of my time was spent in New York City as a monk.
All right. Your biggest challenge, being 15 years as a urban monk, all right, as you define, and your biggest lesson learned, what will be, Pandit? Will you say?
Well, the biggest lesson is that I realized that everything that's happened to me in my life, especially all the difficult things,
All right.
they've all helped me become who I am today. Like, I don't think I'd be who I am. And it's not like I'm some huge famous person or something, but whoever I am,
Uh-huh.
it's
Uh-huh.
everything that's happened to me has made me who I am today.
Okay.
And I'm happy with where I'm at today.
All right.
But I needed all the difficulty and all the pain and all the obstacles and all the challenges to come to where I am. Because
Uh-huh.
all of those pain and difficulties are like steps, you know?
Yes. Uh-huh.
They help you get higher. So I would say that, and Steve Jobs has this nice quote.
Okay.
He once said that you can only connect the dots when you look back at your life. You can't connect the dots when you look forward.
Yes.
So, what- it's a great thing because when I look back, I realize that now I can connect the dots that
Uh,
I'm here because this happened and then this happened and this happened and this happened and it's brought me here right now.
uh-huh.
So, and I think it's important that we all take the time to connect the dots in our life, right? It's
Totally.
important to connect the dots in our life. Otherwise, what'll happen is we can end up becoming negative, like, oh, so much bad luck, nothing works out for me. Why is
Uh-huh.
this happening to me? Right? That doesn't do anything except make us depressed.
Uh-huh.
So, why is this happening to me? Well, if you're asking yourself the question now, find the answer.
Yeah.
Don't just
Yeah.
ask the question, find the answer. Why is this happening to you?
Uh-huh.
Like, look within, go deep within inside. Why is this happening to me? What's the reason? And the
Uh-huh.
reason isn't this person or that person or that person. The reason is me.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Why is this happening to me?
Mm.
So I think question is okay, but we should also answer it.
Uh, I love that. I also been in this kind of a spiritual journey myself, all right, and been traveling and spending a lot of time alone. And and I was wondering, this change of mindset, right? Because it's a change of attitude of the way we view our lives, right? Uh, did that influence your luck, let's say? Because what I think is that the universe is helping us all the time in a way that we don't even think about it, right? Or we never imagine. And it's about this experience that you're talking that, maybe it's a bad luck, but it's actually telling me that I should look at these things or I should pay attention to these things and change something about myself. Did I express well my question? It was a
Yeah.
bit long.
So I think luck does play some part in it.
Uh-huh.
It's luck, it's karma,
Uh-huh.
it's my own effort, and
Hmm.
it's also mindset,
Yes.
right? It's
Totally
a
agree.
combination of things. It's not just one thing,
Uh-huh.
right? So, a lot of times people will say, don't quit until you succeed. Well, success may not show up the way you want it to.
Yeah, it's expectations, right?
Yeah. And then you have to accept the success that you get. You can keep
That's
trying, but sometimes there's many people that work just as hard, but somebody becomes LeBron James and some other guy breaks his foot
uh,
in
that's
high
right.
school and can't go anywhere. He's just as talented as LeBron James, but he
Mm,
can't get there because he broke his foot. So is
mm,
that hard work, lack of hard work? No, it was bad luck. And so
uh,
now you have to accept that,
uh,
right? So it's a combination of karma, luck, hard work, you know, and just patience. So it's a
okay.
combination of all of these things.
Yes.
And so it's hard to just, and mindset.
Uh-huh. And will you say after this, because you probably had this Pandit of now, or the present, and the Pandit of the past, right? And I suppose that before you had this spiritual journey and this realization, self-realization about who you are and what you are here for and your purpose, your mindset before was a bit more negative or a bit more victim kind of way, right? Like many people, like I had, So I was wondering if now this change of mindset attracts you, because I think we attract what we are. Some in some cases, in some way, it's like the law of karma, right? Like you were
Yeah.
talking. So I was wondering if your luck or your way that you interact with the universe or the world has changed, in that sense.
100%. Like now I know that the biggest change is I put the best effort that I can in what I do.
Mm,
I'm also ready to accept if I don't get the success that I hope for.
mm,
Like I put everything in the effort. I try
yes.
everything. If it
Uh-huh.
comes, great. If it doesn't, it's okay. It wasn't meant to be.
Uh,
And I'm not going to lose sleep over it. At least
mm.
not too much. Maybe a little, but not too
Yeah, I
little.
see, I see.
We're
Uh-huh.
human, right?
Uh-huh.
So you're a little disappointed, a little frustrated, but like, you know what? Now I move on. New adventure, new journey, new
Uh-huh.
effort, new endeavor. So that's the biggest thing in my mindset. I'm going to I'm going to always give it my all. If I want to do something, I'll give it everything. And
Yes.
then if it doesn't happen, that's okay. It wasn't meant to, because sometimes a door doesn't open. Maybe it wasn't my door
Mm,
to walk
that's
through.
right.
There may be
That's
a
right.
different door. I may be knocking on the wrong door. I'm trying to be like this person and knocking on their door, knocking on it's not opening because that door is already full. Maybe
Mm,
there's another open door that I'm not looking at because I'm so focused on that one. Because I want to
mm,
be like this person on Instagram. I want to be like this person. Yeah, but that may not be my path. So there may be
uh-huh.
another door. So we have to make sure we keep looking at the open doors that are there.
Yes, yes. Or focus, right? The focus is very important. All
Yeah.
right, very good. Thank you so much for sharing this. It's really interesting and it's really profound. I wanted to ask you, how do you bring all this knowledge, all this experience to companies, to people, that are all the time busy, that they think they don't have time to meditate, they don't have time to be mindful. How do you kind of inspire them to say, okay, stop and pay attention to this because this is valuable and this is going to transform your life and your business?
So those who feel like they don't have time need it the most
Yes.
because that means there's no work-life balance for them.
Uh-huh. Totally.
And yeah, and so I think most of the time people do realize it. It doesn't take a lot of time to convince them. Most people know that they're working too much and they're not spending enough time with their families. People know
Mm,
this. Most people know this. Sometimes they know it and they still can't make any change. They just can't. They're not able to
mm.
make changes. There are people
Yes.
like that.
Yes, it
They
is.
know they know what's good for them, but they can't do it. Do the right thing. Do the good thing. So
Uh-huh.
there's not much you can do. All you can do is you inspire and you hope when you walk away that they
Uh-huh.
will try a little bit. So when it comes to meditation, I do talk about the science behind meditation
Mm. Yes.
because I don't want them to think that it's a religious thing or a spiritual thing. Because in
Yes.
corporations, I don't talk about spirituality. I
Sure.
talk I don't talk about religion. I do talk about the science behind mindfulness. And then what I do is sometimes I'm speaking to 50 people, sometimes 1,000 people.
Mm.
I have them close their eyes and I guide them through some mindfulness practices,
Mm-hmm.
some breathing exercises, some focusing exercises. And they're not expecting that, especially in a live conference. There's 500 people. They're, okay, everybody, now we're going to close our eyes, right? So they're like, oh, I have to close my eyes now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, yes, close your eyes, put away your phone just for 5 minutes. And I guide them.
Uh-huh.
And usually they have an amazing experience, right? They're like,
Huh.
oh my gosh, I can't believe what was happening in my mind. I've had people come up to me afterwards and say, I started crying during your meditation. Like
Uh-huh.
there was
For
something
sure.
inside that came out.
Definitely.
So
What,
I
what about this meditation? What is the most impressive meditation? What are the ones that what is the one that you like the most or you thought it was
well,
more impactful?
well, what I do in the companies, I keep it simple
Uh-huh.
because I only have about an hour there to give my talk, and I talk about a lot of different things. And a
Sure.
lot of people are new to this, so I don't want to overwhelm them. So I keep it for like 5 minutes or
Uh-huh.
7 minutes. I have them do with their eyes closed some breathing exercises. I guide them through some breathing exercises, deep breathing, really deep breathing, and
Uh-huh.
they notice right there that they become more relaxed. Then I
Mhm.
have them do some gratitude meditation, like think of 3 things in your life that you're grateful for,
Okay,
right?
great. Uh-huh.
What are you grateful for? And who can you reconnect with in your life? Which connection have we lost? Can we reconnect with that individual, reestablish a relationship? And then they go inward and they're really trying to think about these things. And so I just do a few of these exercises that
Uh-huh.
make them breathe deeply, focus, get rid of some stress, and do some gratitude. That combination, I feel like, works well. And it
Uh-huh.
makes them really feel refreshed and a little
Uh,
bit more positive also at the end of it.
yeah, more human, right?
Yeah.
That's in it.
Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good. And when, how do you think, or what is your biggest lesson about all this experience that you have in businesses regarding meditation? And what do you think it will be your way forward after this?
Well, my biggest the experience is I can see that people really need it. Like when I started doing this
Mm,
9 years ago,
yes.
there was a lot more skepticism. People weren't
Mm,
sure that you're supposed to meditate at work, right? So when I first started 9 years ago, people were just like, "Oh, what are we doing now?" Like, So,
definitely, yeah.
but now I see that there's a lot more acceptance. So
Yeah.
I ask people, how many of you have meditated at least once? A bunch of people will raise their hand.
Uh,
So the thing is, the world has changed a lot in the last 9 years. Well, the world
definitely.
has changed a lot in the last 3 years too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, now people are looking more of these things. I
Yeah,
think
a lot of
totally.
people are looking. So the world has changed. Meditation is being more accepted. And because it's being more accepted, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to present mindfulness in corporations in a way that is easy for them to do. I
Uh-huh.
don't want it to look complicated. I don't want to make it look hard. I want to make it accessible, relevant, and easy, and something that benefits them, right?
All right.
So in companies, what I do, I tell them that, hey, why don't you just take 1 minute
Uh,
every hour or every 2 hours and just take 10 deep breaths,
mm,
like really deep breaths. And you'll notice how that even it reduces some of your stress and anxiety. So instead
mhm.
of doing 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time, I said just
Yes,
break it up. 1 minute is easy. One
totally. Yeah.
minute, 10 times a day, 5 times a day. That's easy. That's not hard. As opposed to
Uh-huh.
15 minutes. And people like 15 minutes. When do I have 15 minutes? I don't have 15 minutes. I mean, we have 15 minutes to look on Instagram, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Facebook.
And
Right?
WhatsApp and all that stuff, notifications. Yeah.
Yeah, but we
Hours,
don't have
hours
15
spent
minutes for
there.
ourselves. So
Crazy.
that's kind of what I see is continuing to make this practice accessible and relevant for people so they're not scared by it. They don't think
Uh-huh.
it's a big commitment because people are scared of commitments.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and to changes, right? And they are used to the habits that they have built.
Yeah.
Mostly unconsciously. And what about you, Pandit? Like, how do you practice mindfulness now after all this experience of being a monk and being for 15 years? Because I suppose you don't meditate for 10 hours anymore. So how do you normally do your practice or
Well,
continue your practice?
it was never 10 hours, it was always
Ah,
2.
okay.
And I still do 2 hours. Uh,
Okay.
I I left the monastic life almost 9 years ago,
All
and I
right.
still practice 2 hours every day, and or almost 2 hours every day. And the
In the
ways I
morning and in the night or
throughout the day.
throughout the day?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
a little
you
bit
do.
throughout the day, it makes it easier.
Okay, great. All right, so you take like 10 minutes, 20 minutes,
Yeah, half
half an hour.
hour. Sometimes I have a free morning, so I'll maybe do an hour. Sometimes it's very busy, maybe 10 minutes. Then maybe I have an afternoon free, then I'll do a lot there.
All
So
right, great.
I want, I just try to fit it into my schedule
Okay,
somehow
great.
or other. Put it in there, just like lunch, dinner, breakfast. So meditation, 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 right? So we just
Uh-huh.
put it in there. So and then in other ways also, just how do we practice mindfulness? It's not just about meditation, but it's also practicing mindfulness when something happens that can make you angry. How do you
Uh-huh.
respond in that moment? So
Mm,
mindfulness is being able to manage my emotion. If, like, for example, at work, if somebody at work says something to upset you, how do you respond? If you respond in a calm way, then your mindfulness practice is helping you. If you
Mm.
blow up and explode and yell back, then maybe we need a little bit more mindfulness.
Mm.
So, you know, so mindfulness, it's not just sitting and meditating. So after you've done that meditation, how is that going to show up in everything else that you do that day?
Ah, totally. Very good. All right, very nice. Do you have any favorite kind of mindfulness practice that you do, like like loving and kindness meditation or anything similar? Or
So gratitude is a part of my practice,
yes?
right? Always trying to remember the positive things that are happening in my life, right? I
Mm,
try to always remember because too often we can get stuck on remembering the negative things.
Our brain is designed. It was designed for that, right?
Yeah, and so I really try to make sure that I constantly feel grateful for the things that I have. I may not write it down, but I'll think about it. I'm like, oh, this is such a wonderful, this thing is happening and this is happening. I'm so grateful for that. Okay, these other things may not be happening, but these are happening. So
Uh,
because when something difficult or painful happens, we forget, we lose sight of the good things that are happening.
mm,
And so I try to remember that. So that is a part of my practice.
I
And
like
along
that.
with breathing and focusing exercises, I do some mantras. I do a variety of different things.
All right, very good. Okay, so as you know, this is channel is for redefining the business mindset, especially for startups and entrepreneurs, which I think could change or disrupt a bit this kind of cultural mindset. What would you recommend, or what is your biggest lesson learned that you can share with us regarding that, or how would you think we could do that?
Do what exactly?
Yeah, redefine the business mindset that is going on right now. So to make people more aware, more conscious about how important is mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and all that, and how they can transform the way they run their companies and businesses and the impact that they can create
Yeah.
in the world.
I think one of the key things is really to make sure that we have the mindset that whatever business we're in, that we really are in it to serve others.
Very
Our
nice.
work should help other people become, they make their lives easier. And when we lose sight of that, then it just becomes a big business without the human element, right?
Mm,
Like
yes.
I want to know that when I walk out of a company, that I have transformed some hearts and minds, and that people will try to be more mindful, be more kind to each other, will support each other, will appreciate each other, will communicate better with each other. These are all the things I hope to achieve when I walk out. I'm not just thinking about the paycheck. That's
Mm,
important. But the
definitely.
true satisfaction I'm going to get is because then those people write me on LinkedIn, they write me an email saying your session was so helpful. I'm doing this differently now. It's really helped my life. It's changed my relationships. Like, so even if it's whatever our work is, it could be technology, it could be legal. Really try to help whoever you're with. Don't
Uh,
just try to do the bare minimum for them and get your
mm,
check and move on to the next customer. Like, that's not the mindset we want.
that's
We
right.
want a mindset like, let's do a little more than what people paid for. If they
Mm,
ask a little more, like when people invite me for a speech, I do it. They're like, hey, can you stay and a little extra? I'm like, absolutely, I can stay. Why
mm,
not? Could you do something a little bit here or there? I'm like, of course I can do that. So
yes.
it's like give more than what you get. Like that's
Uh,
kind of my own philosophy in my business.
uh-huh.
If somebody asks for a little extra, it's not like, oh, for every little thing I have to charge them.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
definitely.
I think we have
Uh,
to have that human element. Like we're here to serve others. And
uh-huh.
let's never forget that. Even if our business explodes and becomes really big, don't forget the personal aspect of serving and giving a little bit more, because the goodwill that will bring to our business, that person is going to tell 20 other people that this guy, I asked for this much and they gave this much. They're
Uh,
going to be really, I want to work with them. And then you'll get so much more. The universe will send more than you can handle.
uh-huh. Totally. Very good. Thank you so much. It was a nice and lovely interview. Thank you so much for sharing this. Last message really got me thinking, about how we can redefine the business mindset. So I just wanted to give you last question. If you have a last message to leave to the world, Pandit, what will be?
That no matter how successful we become in life, let's
Okay.
always approach our success with humility,
Okay.
right? Don't think that now I'm better than other people.
That's great. Let's
I
say.
always have a humble approach because remember that whatever we've been given can also be taken very quickly by life, by
Yes.
the universe. So,
Everything is temporary. Yeah, and
100
nothing is granted. Love
nothing.
it. Love it. Thank you so much, Pandit. I don't know if you want to leave any other message or anything to reflect on, or we can close it.
Yeah, I mean, if people want to know more about my story, this I'll show my
Yeah.
book real
Oh,
quickly.
yeah, of course, please. Yes.
This is called Urban Monk. This is how and
Great.
why I became a monk.
I
And
love
my
it.
other book that I wrote recently is How to Close the Apps in Your Mind.
Uh-huh.
How to be
I
mindful.
wanted to ask you about that. I forget about it. Can you give us a brief, few lines about what is this book about? Closing the
Yeah.
apps of the mind.
So basically, it says how to be mindful, oops, at work and at home. So
Uh-huh.
see, all these are all apps in our mind,
Okay. All
right?
right.
We're thinking about money, health, vacation, family. So,
Uh,
and it's important to think about this, but when we have too many apps open, then we can't do anything.
mm,
When we
all
can
right.
close out some of them, then we can focus on some things. So the
Definitely.
book is about how to close those apps. It's available on Amazon.
All right, very good. It sounds awesome. I like the metaphor of the apps and the mind. All right, thank you so much, Pandit. It was
Thank
a
you,
great
Rishi.
pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, lovely. So talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Ciao. Ciao. Bye bye.